Hello, Source Codex here, aka Jazz Fusion Guy, and we're going to talk about building a raised bed and the materials that you are going to need. Now, excuse the finger, most raised beds are going to be made with landscape timbers that are going to look like that. Of course, a lot longer, but you can stack them up, stagger them, and whatnot. Now, to hold them together, to hold them into the ground, you're going to need landscape nails. Now, these are the shorter variety. They have some that are longer. Now, I recommend the longer ones for level 1, going down into the ground. Then when you have your next level going up, you only need the shorter variety. And to tie levels in nice and solid, you're going to need rebar. Now, I have modified my rebar with a nice point. I don't know if you all can see that, but I'll put up a link to my rebar hack on getting your rebar nice and pointed. Something else you're going to need, these guys here, these premium wood screws with their own special bit that looks like that. These I use when I have the next landscape timber butted up against. I go in through the sides as such and tie the landscape timber to the adjacent landscape timber with these. It's just a nice extra bit of something to have. Now, you're going to need a spade bit, and for landscape timber nails, you're going to need a 1/2 inch. For your rebar, you're going to need a slightly wider one, a 5/8, and they do a nice job. Now you'll notice these bits are not that long. I don't know if you can buy longer spade bits or wood auger bits, but I think that this is really sufficient to get through. You see, you can get through like a landscape timber and a 1/2 depth. And with your rebar, even though it's several deep landscape timber, because your bit's short, this is why I recommend that you add a point to your rebar. It makes it a lot easier to go in. Now, to get your landscape nails in, for these guys right here, all you'll need is a sledgehammer like that. For your rebars, you're going to need a sledgehammer like that. Give you a lot of extra power with the longer handle and the bigger head. Now, some other things you're going to need. You're going to need some kind of a drill to be putting in your wood screws. You're going to need a drill to be drilling your holes for your nails and your rebar. I have a cordless drill here. I think it's a Hitachi. I've used it forever and ever. It is built like a tank. And it comes with these nice batteries. You can either have the originals that came with this, or there's guys on eBay that sell equivalent batteries. One other thing you're going to need is something to measure with, and you're going to need a pencil to do your marking. Now, I don't have a pencil sharpener, but you know what works great for sharpening a pencil? in your shop. Yeah, just your grinder, and you can get a nice tip. If you're a real nutcase like me, you can even do your nails on your grinder. Oh, okay. And to get things to where you're going, so you're not making trip after trip after trip, I recommend you have either 5-gallon bucket or something like I've got here. Just something to tote all your goodies out there. Be it water, good old towel for wiping your sweaty head, and basically that's about it. Landscape timber, all the goodies I talked about in here, nice big sledgehammer. We're going to go on out to the work site now, where I'm going to put on my final level. Now, something else, you know, you're going to have to be cutting things at an angle sometimes, or either straight across. You could use a cordless circular saw like that, but I have recently picked up this Chicago electric 10-inch miter saw, and this is a great tool to have for getting your landscape timbers right. You know, you run your board out across here, and if it's real long, all you need is a sawhorse. And I use several pieces of wood stacked up to get everything nice and level. Wham bam, thank you ma'am, you're done. Alright, let's go out to the job site. Okay, here we are at the job site with our tools ready to go. And you can see already I've put in 2 levels. We're basically expanding an old bed with rotting railroad ties. We're just going to extend the bed over to here, and who cares what happened to the railroad ties? Let them go back into soil for all that matters. Now, one thing I want to point out that's a really good idea when you're putting in your railroad ties and your rebars, because you're going to be on multiple levels, it's a good idea to mark where your landscape timbers and where your railroad ties are. Simple arrow with pencil is all you need. Why do you need that? Well, when you've got your next level going on top, you don't want a nail right on top of a nail below, or nail over top of a rebar. So depending however high you put up your landscape timbers, you definitely need to mark all the areas where non-wood is going to be. Of course, you never want to nail or put a rebar at a joint, but you don't need to mark a joint. You'll be able to see that. The other thing that's a good idea is not to have your landscape timbers flush with each other, right on top, even with each other. You want to sit each level back a little bit, because that staggered leaning into your area is more stable when you've got it like that. Of course, with landscape timber nails and rebars in, I doubt anything's going to move. But you still want to do your staggering. And like I mentioned with the wood screws, there's a wood screw put in there, and there's a wood screw put in right there. So they go in like this, and that's a little bit more stability. Okay, one last essential, at least for me when I'm working, I've got to have tunes. So this is my Bluetooth speaker, and I'll be playing probably some Tommy Bolin today through these speakers. But I can't play it now because I'll get a copyright notice and I'll lose monetization on the video. So, sad to say, you don't get to hear the tunes like I do. But let's get into it. It's already 8:30. I'm getting ready to go on vacation. I need to knock this out. Alright, here we go. The final landscape timber is in with all the landscape nails and all the rebars as needed. Our next step, miter saw, excuse me, I allowed these nice little angles to line up with this other railroad tie. But the next step is filling this up with some organic material, namely sticks and I think some corn shucks. I may mention this earlier or afterwards in the video. I don't know how it's going to pan out when I edit. But adding this organic bed, then putting some peat moss over it, and then the soil. It's a practice out of Germany called Hügelkultur. So that's what we're going to be doing. And putting in this non-rotted, non-composted organic material like sticks and corn shucks and pine cones and whatever else I want to throw in here is going to reduce the need for so much soil and peat moss. And it's a recycling, reused stuff. Let me go show you my Hugelkultur pile. Here is the beginnings of a new bed we're going to establish here at the back of the house. This is just the timbers laid out to see what situation we've got, and it will end right there. And that'll be nice. And to the left here, we're having a nice wooden walkway installed, which will extend from this corner here all the way up in that general area. Nice. Well, this is day 2 of my installation of landscape timbers, working my way up to 3 levels. Got working out here at 7:15. Because down south, you don't want to wait till later in the day because you will suffer. So this loose board here is going to be my start of my next level. And notice one thing smart to do when you're building these retaining walls, you don't cut your next level to match the cut below. You overlap things. It's just a smart way to do it. So that is that for level 2. Okay, back on the far side of my yard, I have my Hugelkultur pile here, as well as a ladder a friend gave to me that will survive the apocalypse. But it's just too tall and I'm too old and shaky to climb on the thing. But anyway, that's not part of the video. So this stuff I'm going to haul out and put in the bed. And that'll work nice. That's why I saved all this junk. Or I should say organic material. Alright, so that's it for the video. It's time now to put away my extra landscape timbers that I don't need right now, but I'll have them for next time. Okay, that organic material for the compost you'll see is gone, and I scraped a nice layer of really dark, rich soil from underneath it that had been made. So let's see what it looks like in the bed. Okay, we've got our Hugelkultur going here. It's ready for some peat moss and some more soil. And already you can see anywhere from 50% to a third of the amount of peat moss and soil we would have had to put in is taken up by the Hugelkultur, which will decompose over time. And that's it. Boy, am I beat. Ciao again.